and welcome to Inside Politics. I'm Anastasiya Lavrina. At a time when regional alignments are shifting and global tensions are reshaping strategic calculations, Azerbaijan and Iran are recalibrating their bilateral agenda. On February 23, President of Azerbaijan Ilham Aliyev received a delegation led by Iran's Minister of Roads and Urban Development, co-chair of the Azerbaijan-Iran Intergovernmental Joint Commission. The meeting underscored an expanding framework of cooperation from infrastructure connectivity to economic coordination, with both sides emphasizing that jointly implemented projects could create broad opportunities not only for Baku and Tehran, but for the wider region. Strategic priorities include advancing the international north-south transport corridor, constructing a highway bridge over the Aras River, and deepening sectoral engagement across transport and trade. Yet this dialogue unfolds against a complex geopolitical backdrop. Iran faces mounting external pressure, evolving internal dynamics, and renewed debate over its relations with the United States. How does Tehran assess the risk of military confrontation? And importantly, what real opportunities exist today for the further development of Azerbaijan-Iran relations? Can connectivity and economic pragmatism, regional interdependence, overweigh geopolitical friction? To discuss this, I'm joined now by Dr. Reza Talibi, author and journalist based in Germany, and Ahmed Hashemi, director of the Middle East and Central Asia program at the Global Policy Institute in Washington, D.C., United States. Dear experts, warm welcome to Inside Politics. And Dr. Talibi, if you don't mind, let's start with a question to you. The meeting in Baku signals a pragmatic engagement at the governmental level. How is Azerbaijan currently viewed, primarily as an economic partner, a strategic transit hub, or through a broader geopolitical lens? What's your opinion on this issue?
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to join you and to join my friend Mr. Hashemi. And it's a complicated situation because we know the Azerbaijan and the Iran relationship about the economical issues and the social issues. Before, Azerbaijan tried to offer some plan to the Iranian government, such as the Aras corridor, but Iranian don't have any potential, economical potential and the strategical potential to do this plan. And as you know, in Ibrahim Raisi, the former president of the Islamic Republic of Iran, and Iran and Azerbaijan had a negotiation about the Zangezur Road and about the problems and the issue in the Caspian Sea, but they tried to solve this problem with Iran, but Iranian has not the potential and that they don't want to solve this problem, because in this situation Iranian has many problems on the issue, and in this isolation about the Islamic and the Republic of Iran has many problems with the neighbors, such as the Turkey, Iraq, and Afghanistan. Iran has not a real politic about the neighbors in the economic problems and about the social problems and the geopolitical problems, and it's usually imposed to the problems between the Iran and Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan has a good relationship with Russia and another European countries to control the energy basis in the Caucasus, and it's a very big problem to the Iran, because the Azerbaijan is a big alternative to the European Union in this regional conflict, such as the Russian and the Ukraine conflict and another conflict in the Middle East, and Iran has not a good role to make a decision and give a good space to the Iranian economic and the energy infrastructure in this land. And as a result, in short, I can see the Azerbaijan tried to impose the balance diplomatic between the Iran and another country around the Azerbaijan. But in Iran's situation, it's very difficult to Azerbaijan diplomacy structure.
Very interesting. Indeed, there were some problems, and time to time we do observe some problems in the relations between Azerbaijan and Iran. But today's meeting held on February 23 indeed shows that two sides are willing to deeply engage in fostering economic and transport links cooperation. So, Mr. Hashemi, what will be your understanding of the current relations between two countries? And also, the international north-south transport corridor has long been actually discussed not only by Azerbaijan and Iran, but with Russia as well, with India. So today it indeed appears to carry renewed urgency. Is this corridor becoming a strategic necessity for Iran under sanctions pressure, or it's a part of longer-term regional integration vision?
Azerbaijan, the Republic of Azerbaijan tries to become a hub of transportation, both east-west and south-north transport corridor, as well as east-west, starting all the way from China to Europe and the rest of the world. And within this perspective, Azerbaijan tries to secure certain MOUs, certain agreements, understandings with regional countries. Azerbaijan is intent on diversifying its foreign policy and is a firm believer in the multipolarity or multi-vectoral foreign policy. And within this perspective, Azerbaijan tries to accelerate the international north-south transport corridor, specifically as far as Iran is concerned, the Astara-Rasht railway, this is one of the priorities that apparently has been discussed in this meeting and other high-level meetings between Baku and Tehran, between the Republic of Azerbaijan and Islamic Republic of Iran. Other projects that were touched upon are bridge construction over the Araz River. Again, it plays a key role in expanding this status of Azerbaijan as a transport hub, as well as energy cooperations, gas fields. We are aware of some of the oil and gas fields in the Caspian Sea. Trade expansion. Their plan is the Tehran and Baku. Their perspective is to reach to $10 billion of mutual trade volume, which is far from realization at the current situation. And also, Azerbaijan, despite all the differences that it has with the Iranian government, tries to have better diplomatic relationships. And Iran, considering that it has been weakened significantly, especially after the 12-day war in June of 2025 with Israel and the U.S., Iran more than ever needs this good neighborly relationship. Even if it's a troublemaker, at the current circumstances, Iran tries to play a more constructive role, at least when it comes to its neighbors and adjacent neighbor, especially Azerbaijan. And within this context, regional stability plays an enormous role in enhancing multilateral relations between Azerbaijan and Iran. But Ms. Anastasiya, there is a big but, or if, or however, and that is Iran's situation. Both countries are trying to expand trade, are trying to expand transport, but the problem is that Iran is a pariah state. Iran is the most sanctioned state. Iran is leading state sponsor of terrorism, and at the current situation, considering the geopolitical developments in recent days and weeks, Iran's very existence and stability is under question. So again, there's a big but and if and however when it comes to expanding all those lofty ideas concerning the foreign
Of course,
relations.
I do agree that the
our
time will
bilateral
show
relations.
exactly on how two countries are proceed with the further development of the transport links and all other aspects of this. So, Dr. Talibi, it will be nice to know your opinion about this corridor as well, the North-South corridor, which connects Russia, Iran, the South Caucasus, and India. In the current global environment, does this project alter regional power balances in any meaningful way?
I think we have a many problem about this project because the Iranian has not infrastructure for this project. As you know, Iranian tried to get credit from the Russia to this project, and as I know, they didn't success. And in this relationship, in the multi relationship between the Iran, India, and the China, we can see the conflict with the China and the India. Indian try to get Chabahar port in the south of the Iran, and this is a big problem with the Iran and the China relationship because the Indian tried to send the goods from the China, from the Chabahar to the Afghanistan, and they used it this way to Afghanistan. But Iran couldn't complete the train ran in between the Chabahar to the border of the Afghanistan, and it's near the 600 kilometers. And Iran has not a good potential to make a good infrastructure to complete it this way. And as you know, Iran and China has a good relationship, and in this relationship, the China don't want the Indian influence in the Iran, and the Indian is a big partner of the north-south corridor or the transit route. In this section, Iran try to get many profit and many credit from the China, but in this situation, Iran has a many problem in this isolation, and in the war umbrella under the war umbrella in the Middle East. Iran cannot tolerate the economical pressure and the social pressure in domestic situation and in the international situation.
It's
as
clear
you know,
about
Iran
the problems. Indeed, this is very tough topic for debates on how exactly it will affect the future operation of the project. But apart from this, Mr. Hashemi, another very important moment is the tensions between the Washington and Tehran. There are so many statements actually appear in the social media, official statements made by the United States, and still there is a question on the agenda if the war is inevitable and if the countries can still avoid the war to happen. But if the tensions between the United States and Iran were to escalate, how might that affect the South Caucasus and specifically Azerbaijan's balancing strategy and cooperation with Iran? I mean, all of those projects which are now on the agenda.
Azerbaijan has tried to stay away from this evolving conflict, and Azerbaijan openly and clearly, unequivocally, has stated that it's not going to allow its space, its airspace, its land space, to be used against any neighbors, especially in particular against the Iranian regime. But we all know that Iran is a erratic government, is unpredictable, especially if the Iranian regime feels that its very existence is at stake. There's an existential threat facing the regime. Then we could expect the unexpected. The Iranian regime But when it comes to South Caucasus, I'm not that much concerned about the Iranian regime's destabilizing efforts. But Iran has threatened that it will shut down the Strait of Hormuz. It will target U.S. bases, U.S. Military bases, or potentially even diplomatic bases in the region. But one factor that for sure can can play a destabilizing role concerning South Caucasus and Azerbaijan is if the war initiates and if it is prolonged. If the war is prolonged for let's say even more than the 12-day war, if it's because the U.S. has brought in a massive armada of ships and air power and whatnot, and this is not just. There are those who argue that this is for coercive diplomacy and deterrence purposes, but then there are others who believe that the administration of President Trump has been disappointed with the pace and the speed of the negotiations and Iran's intransigence regarding the U.S. demands. So some believe that the war is imminent and this war is going to be a prolonged war, not a short, sweet and quick type of war. And a prolonged war can have serious consequences for Iran's neighbors. Iranians don't have many options in terms of fleeing the neighboring countries because there are countries that are even more destabilized than Iran, for example, Afghanistan or Pakistan. So the options are the Republic of Turkey, the Republic of Azerbaijan. We might see a mass exodus of the population, refugee or temporary, those who are for temporary shelter in Azerbaijan, in other neighboring
Dr.
countries.
Talibi, yes, absolutely. I want to know your opinion as well about the ongoing tensions in between of Tehran and Washington's, your personal expectations, and also another very important question. Washington has visibly stepped up its diplomatic and economic engagement in the South Caucasus, including the visit of high-level United States official to the region, strategic partnership agreements with regional states like Azerbaijan and Armenia. In your view, how Iran likely to respond, and what implications might this have for regional balance and cooperation?
First, the South Caucasus is becoming the fragile geopolitical zone. The issue of the Zangezur corridor has the increased tension between the Armenia and Azerbaijan, and its directly concern Iran. Tehran sees any potential border change as the red flag. And as you know, before the JD Vance had meeting with the Azerbaijani and the Armenian official, and he tried to influence in the South Caucasus, and the South Caucasus is an important and the geopolitical region for the Russia Federation. And now Iran has not any influence in the South Caucasus. And if we will go to the war, and as I say, I think the Iranian government will go to make a deal with the United States. But if we will go to the war and the Iran try to retaliate to the American bases in the Middle East, not about the South Caucasus, because the Iran has a good relationship with the Azerbaijan government, and many Azerbaijanians live in the Iran, and they have an overlap culture, and they have overlap with the Azerbaijan nation in north, and it's will be make a big problem for the Iranian government. The Iranian government try to tolerate the tension in this situation, and because they have many domestic problems, and if they want to influence in the Caucasus, it's not the true time, because Iran has many problems, and they will try to attack to the United States bases in the near the Gulf countries and in the Middle East and in Azerbaijan or the Armenia, it's not a target region to the Iranian military. And as you know, in short, I can say in this time, and we will wait for the Iran and the United States official meeting in the Geneva about the nuclear negotiation. And after this negotiation, we will see the Iran policy against the neighbor. And now Iran has not clarified and clear policy against or about the neighbors, because Iran now has many problems, and he needs the collaboration and the cooperation with the neighbors to solve this problem. And in this situation, Iran tried to tolerate and control the foreign diplomacy against the neighbors such as Azerbaijan or the Armenia.
Well, Mr. Hashemi, and another question about the Zangezur corridor. The proposed corridor has become a key element in discussions about the future connectivity of the South Caucasus. We can see the involvement of Washington, where this corridor is being called as a Trump corridor or TRIP. In your view, how will its realization reshape the broader regional transport architecture alongside the North-South corridor?
This is mostly my understanding is that this would mostly at least in the initial phase was for the purpose of east-west connectivity, because we know Azerbaijan has an exclave which is separated by Armenia. But if we have issues between Iran and the U.S. resolved, as well as because, again, as I mentioned, Iran is a pariah state, Iran is an isolated state, and is the most sanctioned state. We can use the same title, the same name tag for Russia. Russia is, again, one of the most sanctioned nations, is isolated, but because Russia's economy is bigger, we see less it's affected less by international maximum economic pressures. So if we see this lifted, the international isolation lifted, if we see any opening between Iran and the international community, especially if we see the negotiations that are projected for the end of this week, maybe this Friday, if things go well, something comes out of this, and if U.S. expectations to some extent met by the Iranian regime, then we can expect that this north-south corridor can be activated, because one of the major players is India, and the U.S. is supporting, of course, the TRIP or the Trump route for peace and prosperity, or as we call it in the region, Zangezur corridor. That's that. And then there is another aspect, which is India. Again, the U.S. is supporting India versus China. The U.S. tries to curb China's ambitions to ascend into a global superpower. So India, Iran, and then we are going to have Azerbaijan if things are settled down on Iran. And then even Russia can join these efforts, even though it is hard to imagine, to assume that Russia under President Putin can be a constructive player in this. So currently, I don't see any prospect for this, but why not? If the outstanding issues can be resolved, we can see the activation of
we'll definitely see and follow the processes, dear experts. Unfortunately, we are running out of time. That's why I thank you both for joining Inside Politics today. Thank you. So the coming months will be important in clarifying the direction of Azerbaijan-Iran relations. The progress of the North-South Transport Corridor, the outcomes of Intergovernmental Commission meeting in Baku, and the broader regional context will all shape the pace and depth of cooperation between the two countries. As always, developments in infrastructure, diplomacy, and regional security remain closely interconnected, and understanding these dynamics is essential to assessing the future of the wider region. Thank you for watching Inside Politics. I'm Anastasiya Lavrina, and I see you next time.